Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor Brains V Brawn II. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, getting you ready for the Week 8 X interview that we have. If you haven't seen it yet, please click away. This is your time because we will be talking to, last chance, okay, we will be talking to Kate this week. That's the X interview that we got. I had a great chat with Kate, which you're about to hear. Other than that, we had the recaps with Mike and Chappelle, just the 2 episodes this week, and then a feedback show with Simon Me. Survivor Global for Survivor 48. I will be speaking to Taryn on the Stopwatch crossover this week as well. So a lot of content happening. And then finale week next week, which we're hoping to have a lot of fun content there as well. So make sure to subscribe. WeKnowGlobalSurvivor.com. Follow me at Shannon Gates so you don't miss anything, especially as we get to finale week. Hope you're enjoying all the content and hope you enjoy this X interview. Hi, Kate. Welcome to Rob Has a Podcast. Sorry to see you go, but so glad to get more insight into your game that I wish we'd been able to see even more of.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was good. It was an amazing experience. And I feel like when I left, I was like, damn it, but it's okay.
Yeah, the jury loved you. We saw Jury Villa. You were close to that immunity challenge, which I'm sure would have really suited you, whatever it's going to be. So close. And that is devastating. But I'd love to talk to you about going back to the vote where Morgan went home and, you couldn't vote for her. And I thought that was such a human moment. Can you talk me through your relationship and how it got to the point where you were like, even with how close you were, your game wasn't above the friendship that you had with her?
Yeah, Morgan was someone I just clicked on with day one, actually. She was someone with the candy vote that we kind of stuck together on that one. And that's kind of how I made friends with her. And I felt like Morgan was the only person I actually trusted because when you're there, you make friends and you're friends on the outside to their faces. And I do believe I'm friends with them, of course, but a lot of the people you just don't trust. Like they're such a close friend and then you have so much love for them, but love doesn't equal trust when you're on that island. So I feel like it was just someone who I actually trusted and who we did pretty much everything together. Like almost every vote, I think Morgan and I worked together on. And we always voted the same thing. We always had the same mindset. So she's just someone I absolutely trusted and yeah, grew a very, very big love for during the show. So I felt like I was just voting out like a best friend. Like I just felt like it was so wrong. And I didn't think I had to do that. I don't think I had to put my name on her. I don't think I was in that desperate situation. I mean, it was desperate, of course, because it would have been me, but
Yeah.
I felt like there was other ways around it. And I'm very like an optimistic person. So I'll just push as hard as I can to make those other options work. Unfortunately, she still went home, which sucked, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you
couldn't vote
you
for it.
you were optimistic and then you got the challenge that you won. So again, maybe that manifestation does work out. Walking into that tribal council, did you think it was going to be you? Had you found another way around the fact that you were going to be going home at that final six?
I definitely thought it might be me. Yeah, I thought that it was I thought they wanted me for a while by that point. Um and then when that challenge got announced, I just went into laser focus. I don't think I've ever been that focused in my life because I'm someone that needs to be doing something all the time. So for me to like keep my eye on blocks like and be really really slow and really like cautious, that's like not really my thing even though it totally looks like it on the show. That's not something that I would say that I would be good at. Like I didn't think that I'd be good at that. But I think in my mind, I was just like, you have to win this. And I just had that from the very, very start of that challenge. Um, and yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
did.
Well, I'd love to talk about another important relationship that I think really defined this post-merge, which is AJ. A lot of us
Yeah.
didn't think that, his charm would necessarily work on you, or maybe vice versa, we did think that you had it on lock. But this seems like such an important relationship. After your introduction to him was, him on the mat with all the hostage stuff, and then it gets to the merge, and it seemed like a really important relationship. Can you talk me through the dynamic that you had with AJ?
I think on the mat when he did the hostage chat, I don't think that scared me. I thought that was a load of crap. And I was interested. I think that like took my eye and I was like, well, I want to see what this guy's about. And we were put next to each other in the first merge challenge. And we had a really good conversation throughout that as well. And then I was like, well, I'll take him to the cocktail party then, since we had such a good conversation. And I knew he was a dangerous player because everyone had said it. So I was like, you know what? That actually intrigues me. Why not get close to the dangerous player? He has no reason not to like me. He has already burnt so many bridges with other people. So I think getting close to him could be a really good shield. Even though he was using me for a shield as well, I was using him for a shield. And that's kind of what I spoke about in one of the tribal councils. I'm like, you don't really know who's a shield because I was meaning that he is my shield and I think I'm his as well. But AJ, it's not his charm that got me. He is just the nicest person in the world. He's just really, really lovely. He compliments everyone. He's just so positive and he's just a really, really lovely person. So
How,
he's someone I got along with on like a moral level because even though he was like maybe a bit of a crazy game player or is a crazy game player, I think that we always had a similar moral level. Like we were always very kind to everyone around camp. We always helped out. I saw that he always helped out. He always offered, you know, he always offers to do things and I always offered to do things. And I feel like we kind of got together like because of that. We kind of liked each other's morals and I think we shared very similar ones.
Yeah, well, there was, a couple of big flips that you made with, again, you and Morgan having a lot of this power. Firstly, to go from the Brawn guys to Girls Gone Wild, and we see, especially at the merge, that, even before the merge, that's really like a choice you're wanting to make. How did that kind of form with Laura and Zara and how you were looking at the game at that point?
Um, I think I absolutely loved working with the Brawn guys. They're amazing and they're amazing people, but they were dictating a lot of the votes. And I think that kind of got me and Morgan like, well, I feel like we're just at the bottom of this alliance, so why not start a new one? Because if we started a new one before we got to merge, you've already got that connection. But they weren't worried about that. They were just worried about getting us all past merge. But I don't think that was the way to go because there was more brains than brawn at that point anyway. So we would just get picked off. If that was just a fully brains versus brawn merge and we were in brain alliance and a brawn alliance, it just wouldn't have worked. We would have gone because we were a smaller unit. And the brains were just willing to work with anybody. And I think that's why we wanted to flip because we heard about conversations in the past that, they were happy to get us out like later on. And we heard like a few birdies. There's always like he said, she said. So I don't know if any of this is true, but I heard like Jesse speaking about getting me out early days, like really, really early days in a conversation with Pauline Noonan. And I was like, he's like one of my best friends here, and he's spoken about that. So he is definitely going to flip on me in the future, and I'm going to flip on him first. So that was kind of my mentality there.
Yeah, and once you got, and you were with the girls, I know that you were talking about how close you were with AJ, but was that a bit of a decision for you at the point where you're voting for like Logan as an example? I know to split on Laura in the hope that she comes back to you, but it felt like you kind of chose the side with, AJ, obviously AJ, Morgan, we can talk about the numbers, but like Kaylin. So how were you kind of looking at the dynamics there to go with that side?
Well, I knew that with the Girls Gone Wild Alliance, they were going to go back to their original alliances when Merge hit. So we made the Girls Gone Wild Alliance before Merge. So Laura kind of went back to Logan. Zara definitely went back to her alliance, which you see a lot of. And I don't think I was able to work with Zara. I think it was quite clear that she was directly going back to her alliance. Laura, I felt like it was actually quite good for her to go back to her alliance because she did do what she said. She said that she was going to put a good name out for me and Morgan, and that's exactly what happened. Logan like did take us in, but in saying that, there was so many people that wanted Logan out, and I felt like making another connection was a bit more important because I already had Laura, and I knew Laura was a really important connection because she had connections like everywhere. And then AJ was just someone that I thought it's an unexpected relationship. And I think everyone thought that no one realized like people were asking like, why are you guys friends? You have nothing in common. But we do have a lot in common. Um, and I think that's why it was really cool because I think it started off as a bit of a secret friendship. Even though it's like really like obvious from the get-go, it wasn't like super obvious because AJ is just someone to flip on most people in the game, maybe apart from Kaylin or Miles. But yeah, I think only people started realizing how close we were when he kept persuading the vote not to be on me.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I think
Yeah.
we hit that pretty good for a little bit of time.
Yeah. Well, speaking about hiding things, I mean, Paulie said to me that on the PD vote, you guys knew that Paulie was going to be saved by Miles. Is there truth to the fact that you knew that that was happening and that kind of helped form that group with you guys?
I think we knew Miles had an idol. God, I can't remember. He had so many.
Yes, he had that was he had
I
two at
can't
that
quite
vote.
remember that question. Um, I remember going into Paulie's vote when he did get voted out and telling him he wasn't going home because I thought he wasn't. But then he did end up going home. So I felt really bad because I feel like he might have thought that I lied to him, but I really genuinely thought he wasn't going home. And that was the same with Logan. She was going home the night I didn't want her to go home, even though I wrote her name down like 2 votes beforehand. I was like, I don't want her to go now. So yeah, it kind of just works out like that, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd love to talk about Miles because Miles and all of this, as you said, he always has an idol. You were working with him at times, then at the Baron vote, especially when Paulie ends up going home. Everyone targets Miles and then everyone moves off Miles. I don't think I understand the dynamic of like the relationship and when you were working him and when not, but then going back. Can you please explain some of this to me?
I've had so many people say that actually. It's very interesting. I think whenever someone is on the bottom of the tribe, like they've almost been voted out, the vote, if you notice, it always changes off them. We never really go for them again, only because then they can be used as a number because they're desperate. So if you have another plan that you're like, okay, well, Miles is desperate. He needs to do anything that you ask him to, grab him and get him into a bigger plan. We can get him out later. That's the mentality of the person on the bottom not going home the next vote, I guess. I think we're always trying to use that person. Sounds really rude, but they're super desperate. So a lot of the time they would just be like, "Yep, I did it." Like as soon as Morgan was gone, Miles came up to me with that plan. I was like, "Yep." Like whoever it is, like I didn't want to vote out Kaylin. That wasn't who I would preferred to go. But yeah, you just have to kind of do what you can do if you're on the bottom. So I think that's the reasoning behind us not voting for the same person 2 votes in a row. Um, Working with Miles was very interesting. I don't think I could fully trust him because he whipped out so many random, I don't know, idols, and then like you have a note, steal someone's idol, he'd save Paulie, like he did all these different moves without telling a lot of people, without telling like people that he's working with. So I don't think I was interested in working with Miles because he just was such a wild game player, which is awesome. But that's why I wanted to keep voting on Miles because he is a dangerous, dangerous threat to the game. Like I just knew he was like a cockroach just kept getting through like world explosions. Like he just, and I knew he was going to. I knew he was going to. So when we weren't going for him, I was kind of like, guys, get your shit together. Come on. Like he's gonna keep going through. Like it's so obvious he's been doing it from the very start. He's so smart. But he has gotten very far and he's a very good game player. So kudos to him.
Well, how did you kind of see the dynamics through that merge? What were the other really key relationships that you had that you felt like, you were working with and that you might have wanted to go really, really far in the game with, even going, towards the end? If at the point where Morgan's gone and you get through this final five vote, how do you kind of see that end game and how did you see, your relationships to this point?
Yeah, that was a hard one, honestly. I think I really wanted, obviously, Morgan. She was like my ride or die. I wanted her to get really far with me. Um, I could see myself going to the end with AJ, even though he did vote me out. I think if things weren't the way they were, if Miles didn't have an idol, if Zara didn't win that last challenge, I think that vote could have been quite different. Not every single time. I think I go home quite a few ways during that vote, but I think there is a small percentage if Miles didn't have an idol or if Zara didn't have that necklace that me and AJ would have worked together.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
block things up when two people are,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. For
But
sure.
again, that does make it hard with the 4 people that are left because I'm
Yeah.
still left with 3 brains. So I kind of, it's inedible. If I had one more brawn with me, it could have been easier, or even just one person I was working with. Um, who else? Kristen, actually, I did see myself going far into the game with, but I didn't realize watching back that she was actually quite happy to go on me, which I wasn't really happy to go on her, but that's the way Survivor works. So you don't always know.
Yeah, well, I'd love to kind of go back to those old Braun relationships, take it all the way back to day two. You said you didn't think you'd make it to day two. You made it well past day two. Candy did not. And at the time, it seemed like you really didn't want to work with Nash, but you voted with Nash, and then later it seemed like you weren't with Nash. So I'd love to go, oh, I'm still thinking about the Candy vote. If you could explain what was happening there.
People are so mad about the candy boat, and I feel terrible about the candy boat because I genuinely thought she was a beautiful girl,
Poor Candy.
but she was someone who was similar build to me, and it was either me or her. The only reason it wasn't me was because I got that key down. I got up on the shoulders, and that's how it wasn't me. I just feel like they straight away targeted like a blonde, like little girl. Like I think that's why she was targeted. I think that's the only reason because she was weaker. And I think it well could have been me, but people were like, well, she got the key down, so why would it be Kate? So Candy was a bit of a hard vote. Yes, Nash did tell me to vote, and it was going to be me next if I didn't. But that's not the reason why I flipped, actually. The reason why I flipped is because I had a conversation with Morgan, and Morgan wanted to go on Candy. She had her own reasons. But I knew that making this relationship with Morgan was going to help me throughout the whole entire experience. And I knew if I flipped on her, it was much more detrimental to flipping with the other Brawns that were voting off Ursula. Then I had a thought as well. I'm like, Ursula's really, really strong. She's actually going to help us a lot in challenges. So I kind of did think that way as well. But yeah, I think my main reason for flipping in that vote was really, really building that trust with Morgan. And I think that's what we did. As soon as I did that, she told me everything. And she even said to me before the vote, she's like, you don't have to vote with me. Like, we can do separate votes. And I was like, you know what? I think if we start our relationship off like this, it's just, we're not going to tell each other stuff. We're going to vote differently and then we might end up turning against each other. And I'd rather have one really strong person than a group of five people that I've just met. Even though an alliance of five is awesome, you can go back to them and say, look, I'm sorry for flipping. It's the first vote. To be honest, no one really knew each other. They couldn't get super upset about me for voting out Candy because they didn't even know Candy, if that makes sense. If we were far into the game and I did that, it would definitely ruffle a lot of feathers and I'd be really scared to go back to the crew and be like, hey, I did this. I'm sorry. But yeah, that was just a vote that it was quite easy to do that. It was the first vote. Didn't really mean much to many people as long as it wasn't them.
Yeah, for sure. I wish we'd been able to at least see that reaction of you coming back. I was always like, I would, we never got that scene. But I feel like if anyone was kind of important
Yeah.
to your long-term game through that, it was Paulie, who you mentioned. At times you maybe thought he was going home. When he went home, you didn't think he was going home.
Mm.
You have this relationship with him, obviously in the pre-merge and then coming back to the merge. So what was that dynamic like through the game?
Oh, Paulie was a hard one as well because I loved him. I loved his personality, but I didn't quite trust him at the time, only because I had been told a few things. I've been told that he had a conversation about getting me out, the same one with Jesse actually. So I kind of was a bit wary of Paulie, and I wish I didn't get told that because I heard that it was just like a very like blase conversation, like, oh, if we had to get someone out, who would it be? So it didn't really matter that conversation, especially once it hit merge. But when you hear things like that in your ear, that's all you can think about, and all you want to do is like get people before they get you. So I think that I focused on that a little bit. But in the end, when Paulie did leave, I really actually didn't want him to leave. I really wanted to pull him in. He would have been really strong with Morgan and I. Um, and yeah, I was really sad to see him go. And he had a rough like last few days, and it was really, really hard for him. I could see that he was going like absolutely crazy, which we all do towards the end. And yeah, I felt really bad for him.
Yeah, poor Paulie. Well, I'd love to ask one last question. I know that you spoke in the preseason, you've spoken on social media and in your jury villa since about playing the game with OCD. I love the representation. I have OCD as well, so I was really hoping to
No
see,
way.
yeah, more of that on the show, representing for the OCD girlies, which is amazing. I mean, how did it manifest on the island? Because I had my theories, but I think, I mean, it's an interesting, kind of experiment at the very least.
I kind of did exactly what I thought it was going to do. So my OCD comes like in big blocks when I'm unoccupied. So when I first got to the
Yes.
island, everything was new.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to be great. As soon as I got to the island, I knew that my OCD wasn't going to show really much. I was going to, like, everything's new. Like, there's no doors to walk through 100 times. There's no light switches. Like, everything was just brand new. There was barely any OCD. I probably started showing it a little bit more towards merge, maybe a bit before then. People started noticing me doing it, but it wasn't like taking a huge toll on me, like just a few ins and outs or like getting up onto the bed and getting back down. And then past merge is when it really set in because it's almost like camp became home. Like I was getting it, it sounds funny, but I was making like rituals around like the same tree. So I'd have to go past the tree a few times and like I'd have to get back into the bed, the bed a few times, not the bed. Um, so yeah, I kind of just it almost became home and that's when the rituals started coming through a lot. So I was definitely finding challenges again because my mind was
Yeah.
occupied. So like your brain's just like so set on the challenges and I think that was really helpful for me. Um, but walking to challenges and walking to to go do a bushwee or like walking, I don't know, just getting into bed, doing like little activities like that, washing my own stuff is where it really started to get bad. And towards the end, when like everyone was going crazy towards the end, like you can see it on everyone's faces, like everyone's like losing it. Like if you know them, you can see like on their face that they're just so paranoid. But yeah, when I'm in that state of like being starving and like sleep deprived, even back home, if I'm like a little bit hungry, I'll have like bad OCD. So like there, it was like it was pretty bad. So I'd have moments where I'd like cry and break down or scream, be like, stop doing it, and then get back on with life. But that's one thing I'm really good with my OCD. A lot of people would like dwell, like if they had like a big outbreak and start crying over it, a lot of people would be like, have a bad day for the rest of the day. I'm like, I can go from like crying, like losing my marbles, and then being like, all right, well, I'm finished that now, so let's go on with the rest of the day. So I have like quite a positive outlook for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. Again, like so much of that is incredibly relatable as well. I definitely think, as you said, it's when you have that time and that space. I was diagnosed in 2020 during the lockdowns because I had no control, but I had so much time.
Yeah.
And that was like the
Yeah,
worst
yeah,
combination of everything, which really made it manifest terribly. So I did think that it
yeah,
might manifest that way, but incredible that you were able to overcome it, play so many days in the game while experiencing
yeah,
that, let alone how hard the game is. And I know that that means a lot to me, hopefully for a lot of other people who maybe either have OCD or don't know about a lot about OCD. I think that that's incredible to be the last brawn standing, but also to go through all of that, I think is amazing. So thank you for sharing all of that. And it was great to talk to you today.
You too. Thank you so much. I'm glad we're OCD queens.
Yes,
OCD
OCD
queens.
queens forever. Amazing. Thank you so much, Kate. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.